doing a little bit of a change up in the format. We're having a little bit of a roundtable forum discussion. We have our familiar hosts on the far left. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
What's going on? I'm your boy Jay.
This is lovely my wife.
This LS James.
Latia Scott.
Derrick Scott.
All right. And there have been a few topics that came up from the relationship video and live stream that we did the last time. One of the biggest ones that I saw was the argument of submission. So I want to ask mainly the ladies, and fellas jump in if at any point y'all disagree. I want to interject something. What does it mean for a woman to be submissive in marriage? Everybody don't volunteer at once.
I mean, I can tell you,
To be submissive, I mean to allow your husband to be head of the household, allow him to make those decisions, with your help, but mainly you're allowing your husband to lead the household.
I agree. So a man is the head of the household, and we are the support. And being submissive is not, do whatever he say. So there's a misconception that, I'm the head, so you got to do everything I say. That is far from the truth. When you are submissive and you have a relationship with your husband, you have a relationship with God, when your husband makes a move or make a decision, if, for the most part, if it's small, you agree, all right, let's go ahead and do it. But if it's something like something that you may not agree with, and you're like, I don't agree with that, that doesn't mean I'm submissive, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to do it because he say do it. No, I'm going to pray, God, what is it? Give me peace. My husband wants to do this, and my spirit is not, I'm not feeling it. It's not what I think it should be. Could you give me a sign? Could you whatever? And then you would then proceed to have a conversation with your husband and say, this is what I'm feeling, that communication. This is what you want to do. However, I have no peace concerning this situation. And so that communication has to be open, and you have to really, really understand like that it's not, this is what you do. They're not, I don't know, what's the word? They're not your boss, so to speak.
No,
yeah, it's not the boss of me. It's really, allowing him to lead as God leads him, period. Now, some people will just try to lead on their own, and if you're leading on your own with not following God, then I can't follow you, essentially.
And if I could jump into it, I would say that, and it tends to be my viewpoint that in a lot of relationships, that 95% of the decisions that are made, a man usually actually follows the wife. Mm-hmm. Because it's usually a man's duty to see his wife at her most happy as possible. But I think that it comes a time when you have those really difficult decisions, those 5% of decisions where it's kind of hard to find a common ground, and those are the decisions where I think in most instances should be deferred to the man if he's going to be the leader of the household. So being submissive per se in a relationship, it has a negative sounding connotation, but it doesn't mean that you do to every woman your husband. It just means that those disagreements per se, where it's hard to find that commonality, that it tends to be deferred to the husband as the leader of the household.
I agree.
Well, see, it's like people, piggybacking on what you're saying, people have this connotation of what it means to be submissive, and it sounds really, you got to be weak, or you have to be not having your own mind of things to be submissive, and that's not the case. But the thing that the most people I hear from are dudes who like, my wife has to be submissive, my girl got to be submissive, and that's crazy, that's dumb, especially if the dude doesn't deserve to be submitted to. And by that, I mean he must first submit himself to God, right? So in that relationship, it's a triumvirate. You have God, you have the husband, you have the wife, and God is the head. And then the husband submit himself unto God, and then the wife submits herself unto the husband. And like you were saying from before, if the thing I pray for the most besides my family is wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. So in the vein of Solomon. So when you talk about what you're praying for, when I make a decision, I'm already talking to God or in tune with it, even outside of what me and my wife talked about. And when it gets to that point where she trusts me enough, that even when she doesn't agree with it, she can make her peace with me. You know what? I'm gonna roll with you, and then I'm gonna trust you, and that's really what it's built for. And now on the flip side, there are times when I have to fall back, and when she makes it like, I'm really not feeling this, I'm not sure this is gonna be the right move we should make. It's my responsibility to hear that, digest it, think about it, and then come back and be like, you know what, I think my wife is right on this one. And if the guy isn't rooted in this whole order of things, you have a lot of guys that mess up, we're going to do it my way. It's my way, it's the highway. And that's wrong, and that's because I have all the other issues involved with what's going on in the relationship. So it's going back and forth. It's a team effort with God at the head. And when you have this whole connection with each other, you should be able to communicate to get to the final outcome. And everybody should be reasonably happy with what's going on. Well, in terms of the decision and where it moves. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Well, you made a good point about having to be weak. That people think that if you're submissive, you are weak or you can't have your own mind. That's actually the opposite. There are the people who can be submissive are the ones who are strong and who have their own mind, right? Because it takes a real woman with her own mind and her own identity to be able to truly submit to her husband or her significant other. So that is far from the truth when you start talking about, oh, you can't have your own mind. That's not the truth.
And before we let Dre pose another question, I think also with the whole thing about submissiveness, sometimes it's, by our generation, the millennial generation, is looked at as an uneducated type of view thing. So, we're not trying to throw a piece of papers out here, but we have 2 doctors on the couch. So for anybody who's thinking that, and my wife is currently in the process of getting her master's degree, not saying that a piece of paper makes you smarter or better than anyone, but I am saying that these viewpoints are coming from people that are educated. So part of the argument is that's an old school, down south, uneducated version of a woman. She's supposed to be hand and toe behind her husband. I just want to put that out there that this conversation, that would not be the case. Go ahead, Dre.
Nah, and you guys actually touched upon my follow-up question a little bit. I feel that some of the negative connotations from even the term submission that it has, people that I talk to that don't agree with it or don't agree with the notion of it, they tend to find it synonymous with domination. And I think it's very clear that you guys don't share that viewpoint. So do you think in some ways, though, with one person being submissive to another, that it does open up ways for domination in a certain aspect of the relationship?
What domination? I mean, what woman don't want their man to be strong and dominant?
Yeah, you don't want weak
Okay.
man.
I was expecting to hear that one. Miss Scott, can you expound on that?
No, I mean,
That's the other way.
I'm a strong woman, so to be able to handle a strong woman, you have to have a strong or stronger man. And I don't see me. Yeah, no, I can't do the weak thing. I definitely need a dominant man who handles business. That's nothing less.
You need someone to know that they are able to handle the household, be able to, be a leader. If you can't do that, then
What are we doing?
yeah,
Cause I could, you know, if I
And
if I
that's
need
what comes into play as the woman being the
Being-
strong,
it
independent woman. Because if you got a weak man, I mean, okay, I can go off and do this by
Yeah.
myself. So I mean,
Okay.
you know, we need you to be.
Gotta come
Done.
correct, fellas.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
What's real is though, they on our last video, it was titled "Black Marriages in America: What Are Wrong? What's the issue with them?" Because black marriage rates are at an all-time low, and one of the issues I think Dre raised was that the black male was emasculated so long through slavery and Jim Crow that many this day suffer from, for lack of better words, a weakness when it comes to relationships. And now, this is another question we're gonna pose to you all. We're in a position where the black female is the most educated group in America by sex and gender, and the black male is on the opposite end of that spectrum. So, my question is, it's going to be a lot of relationships where the black female or female in a relationship tends to make more money and is more educated than her counterpart. Is it possible to be in a relationship like that and still let your man be the leader of the family?
Let me speak on this, bro.
Go ahead, bro.
Listen. Alright. When me and Tia reconnected, I was still in grad school, and she was doing her postdoc. So she made twice the money I made as a grad student, and she was technically my superior because she came into my lab. And
I was his boss.
I said
I just had to.
I didn't say superior. Any case though, the issue of salary or who made more money never.
No.
It never came into play in terms of the dynamics, the power dynamics in the relationship. In terms of, it was still a partnership with God at the head, and we're talking about us going back and forth and making decisions. And it could have easily been, well, I made the most money, so this is what we're gonna do. But that's not how it's going down. At the same time, even if the situation is reversed, it's not up to me to say this is what it's going to be because I say so. It's up to us to come to that decision together. So in our case, especially early in our relationship, it was the opposite end of the spectrum where she was the breadwinner and I wasn't. I was still just trying to get my degree, basically. And it was something that it didn't even occur to me to be on some, oh, well, I don't make as much money. It's simply, oh, well, this is how much money we got. Here's how much money we got. And this is what we should probably be doing, or the kind of moves we should make. And she definitely influenced my thinking in terms of, she was the most financially responsible one. So I learned a lot of good habits from her financially, from that, from our time we first get together, regardless.
Well, I think that it's going to be different in each household, right? It is just not the same. And so you have to find that common ground and what works. And to be honest, that wasn't easy to come into a situation where I had already been kind of, on my own a little bit, and coming into a relationship where, he's in school, and I mean, it wasn't easy, but I mean, you have to know again who you are, what you're dealing with, and you just gotta make it work.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Tell me that you love me.